Greetings and welcome, viewers. I am your host and storyteller, Silvernov. Thank you for joining us while we delve into the world of darkness with Vampire the Masquerade. This stream is intended for a mature audience and does contain mature themes that may not be suitable for all viewers. This game revolves around a dark horror theme and contains content that may be an emotional trigger for some audience members. Please keep in mind that this is a work of fiction. The views and actions of the characters are not explicitly the views or actions of the actual players. At no time, excuse me, at no time should any of the violence or horror portrayed in our game be attempted by anyone at any time for any reason. Please sit back and grab a drink and a snack and join us on the shadowy path that is the world of darkness. And now, before we start, please meet and welcome our players for the evening.
Hi, I'm Sailirish on Twitch, and I'll be playing Toon the Bruja.
Hey, I'm Chase. I'm going to be playing Jonathan Keats, the Thin Blood.
I'm Mickey Bear. I'm going to be playing Major Delaney, the Ventru Extraordinaire.
I'm Silvanov, aka the Dark Druid. I'll be your storyteller and host for the evening. Now, back at the warehouse, things have definitely heated up. There's an anthill of activity going on around. Annabelle and Mr. Ezekiel White borrowed a vehicle from the Major to go handle some business that Annabelle needed handling. And as she's accountable for Mr. White, she elected to take him along. Against the Major's better wishes and probably his direct instructions, somehow she had convinced the driver that he was not needed. The Major and Tim had made mention that they needed to speak. Down to one of the control rooms, which are not unlike other rooms that have been seen under the Major's control. Looks strangely like one of the interrogation rooms that they've seen on videos. As the Major and Tim descend the stairs.
Yes, down here we can talk blissfully free from any sort of modern monitoring, if you will.
Very well.
And I will hold the door open for Mr. Toon, and please, after you.
Thank you. I'll walk
seat.
in. Have a seat.
Mr. Toon, based on the behavior of some of the individuals in this domain, I think even Theo Bell's behavior in Prague would be forgiven if this were the example set for you, and I apologize for that. Hopefully in the future, with proper leadership, you can see how the Camarilla is supposed to function. Calm, serene, and entirely without incident.
An interesting thought.
That is the goal. Whether or not that goal is ever met, well...
Interesting. So, I have a problem.
What is your problem, Mr. Toon, and how may I be of assistance?
Well, something you're fond of saying reminds me, you think failure should be sewn into the flesh. Well, my problem is that mine was sewn into someone else's. And I need that repaired if possible.
Go on.
One of my ghouls, I have affectionately nicknamed Chompers, had an unfortunate incident with him early on in my time in this domain, coming back after being sent for by my sire. Anyway, outside of the Three Monkeys, I was beset by some kind, and I lost my temper and things got ugly, and I set his jaw at a 90-degree angle. kind of felt bad, didn't mean to kill him. So I ghouled him. Ideally, if we could get him fixed, that would be useful. Also, he may be able to be some sort of display when we question the harpy.
If he's your ghoul, simply reset his jaw and move forward. You have the strength, I'm sure.
Well, I have the strength, but aren't I going to kill him? I don't really know how to do that.
Theoretically speaking, a ghoul is still immortal, so I can have my medics take a look at him if you wish. They're probably going to do the same thing, which is just reset the jaw, and you would feed him more vitae and use that power to heal.
See, if I could have got that simple answer weeks ago, I would have had another useful goal instead of having to hide him back and forth since he's, a walking masquerade breach.
Well, I've seen stranger things.
Indeed.
But the prudence that you displayed in this matter is with merit and very much appreciated, Mr. Toon. You did right in erring on the side of caution. And that's, dear boy, is the watchword, or the watch phrase, if you will. Err on the side of caution.
Mm.
In all things.
There's a dark chuckle in the back of your head, Tim, as the beast kind of laughs at your last statement, or at the major's statement about control, about being kind, doing what you do. The laugh becomes darker as it replays images in your head of punching the life out of Chomps. It's literally stealing away property of Maurice Telon with abandon and never being told word one about it. Let him think what he wants.
Well, seeing as how phones are a no-go, I can give you a number if your people would be willing to go pick these two gentlemen up.
And I will look at Sergeant Spears, who is indefatigably by my side. Sergeant Spears, would you send a team?
Where to, Major?
Wherever Mr. Toon must.
I'll hand the sergeant a phone number where they can be reached.
And what would you like us to do?
Bring them here.
Who are they?
Two of my ghouls.
They have names, I'm sure.
Yes. Diego and Chomps. He kind of gurgles, so I didn't catch his name.
Okay.
Is there some sort of challenge, a password that they know that it is from you?
No, there isn't yet. So, do you have a clean burner?
Yes, of course.
Very well. I'll text him and meet at this address, and I'll give the sergeant some random address on a corner somewhere. I will tell them to meet you here within 30.
Yes, if you just step outside of the room, you'll find your phone should transmit.
Yes. I'll walk out and send the message.
There's a quick reply of a thumbs up and a D.
Roger that.
Yes, it's things like this, Mr. Toon, are easily managed. Prudence in all things, moderation, as I'm sure you well know. That blissfully you seem to not be subject to the curse of your blood like Mr. White is. I still don't know what I'm going to do about him.
They talk a lot about breaking down the system, and that's about all they've done, from what I can see, is talk.
Indeed.
I don't find a whole lot of use in that. I'd rather be useful.
The Anarchs seek station that they have not earned. They seek power without leveraging the responsibility necessary to wield that power appropriately. And I emphasize the term appropriately because if we hope to survive these modern nights, that power must be wielded judiciously, appropriately, and in measures if we are to see the next moonrise.
It's funny you mentioned power. One of the things Jax told me after I was embraced was that was the gift, was power, which was a lie. I was given strength. I was not given power.
There is a difference. Power is in both, at the same time, both illusory and finite, fluid, yet solid.
Formless yet solid.
Yes. It is as a, let me think of the right term, a actor that I'm sure you're familiar with has said, be like water. Water can flow or it can crash. That is power.
Hmm.
The ability to move through these nights without making... There's a saying that there's only 2 times a gentleman's name should appear in the newspaper: when they're born and when they die.
Hmm.
We, being already dead, our names should never appear in the newspaper.
Bless our faces.
Lest your face, yes. But there are so many of our ilk who are so fast to react instead of, especially in these nights where we have so many younger kindred, they do not comprehend that we have centuries to leverage. And we must understand that revenge is, there's no cost benefit. There's no, as some of my American Ventru brethren would say, there's no cost benefit. There's no, for me, there's no strategic advantage to wanton revenge and vendetta and da 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 da. No, the only reason you should do the things that we are currently doing now is to preserve order. I do not do this. I did not do this lightly. I did this because we must preserve if we are to survive.
Hmm.
We must preserve the masquerade, if we are to survive. And what has been going on in this domain is antithetical to that. It is anathema to that.
Agreed.
So I do appreciate the prudence you have displayed in most of your actions. I understand. I saw on the video you looked around. You were attempting to do your due diligence. There is a reason you are still alive, Mr. Toon. Well, tangentially speaking. But
Alive.
alive, yes. Charming, dear boy, charming. But you
I
understand
wonder.
You wonder.
Yeah, I understand your point, but my thoughts return to my broken ghoul and if he would be of any value when we speak to the harpy. He was the harpy's man before I liberated him, so to speak.
The harpy, as much as I would love the opportunity to pull on strings and climb that ladder and find out who the true puppet master is, the priority for me and my mandate was to calm the domain, to get it running functionally again. And unfortunately, investigation precludes said return to serenity. And so, unfortunately, I fear that we aren't going to be able to unravel that Gordian knot. However, if you wish, Mr. Toon, there is a position that you could fulfill.
Oh,
Similar to my own, similar to the one Miss Annabelle performs. You're a capable warrior, sir.
yes.
But you also have a keen mind.
I try. More than some of my clanmates, I'd wager.
In my experience, yes. But to that end, perhaps there is a place for you in my employ.
I wouldn't mind being hired muscle.
Oh, I would not be utilizing you as muscle, sir. I'd be utilizing you as an investigator and, shall we say, exterminator.
I like the sound of that last bit. So the only thing keeping me from that is the small matter of my missing sire.
Your sire was on the Primogen Council here?
My sire was the keeper, who is one of the missing.
Yes. My suspicion is that the Sabbat were taking those who would not turn. And as I said, whilst I would love to be able to find them all and rescue them, etc., 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 loyal subjects of the tower they are, unfortunately, we must return this domain to proper functioning. I'm afraid Josiah may be lost.
Between that and any needles that may have gone unnoticed, not
ideal, I agree. In a situation like this, you must always be wary of traps left behind by your enemy. But I have full confidence in the Justicars and their agents' ability to suss out said devices and machinations. If they can be saved, they will be. If they cannot, you must sally forth as a kindred in your own right. Which is why I make to you the offer that I do. You have a place in the tower, Mr. Toon. A place of duty. A place of respect. Honorable service.
There's a definite knock at the door.
I'll look at Sergeant Spears. Who is it?
You sent Sergeant Spears to retrieve a couple of...
No, I told him to send a team.
Oh, got you. Sergeant
Spears needs to learn how to delegate.
Opens the door. There's a little bit of hushed conversation. The door closes. Sir, I'll return in a moment. There's a disturbance. I'll handle it.
Sergeant Spears?
Yes, sir.
What is going on?
Nothing to concern you, sir. It's my duty. I will take care of it. Please continue conversation. I'll be back in moments.
Very well. Where did we leave off, Mr. Toon?
Pause. He closes the door. About an hour previous, Jonathan, after some communication between himself, the Major, and others concerned, was granted a period of time to sit and speak quietly with Ada. That time is coming to a short close as we come into a scene where in the office, she is still manacled. The great iron gauntlets that have an iron bar separator between them behind her back. And they are finishing their conversation when the door not erupts, but is abruptly opened.
Like I'm just telling her and be like, you should have, like, actual like smile on his face trying to cheer her up, and you should have seen, like, I got to tell on and throw that fucking line in his face.
I'm sure I'm sure he deserved it. A piece of shit.
And
She
then I'll
turns
look
and
over.
looks as the door is thrust open. There's a pair of goonish looking muscle heads in white suits. They have no adornments on their clothing. You can hear the voice of Sergeant Spears in the background, barking orders. What's going on? What's going on? Who the hell are you? What are you doing in here? How'd you get past security? The door closes briefly. The talk ceases in a brief moment before the door opens again and the two gentlemen in white suits walk in.
Gonna put myself between Ada and these people and just be very cautious.
One of them looks at you as you take a defensive stance, shakes his head from side to side. Mr. Keats, this is not necessary.
Who are you?
I'm a person who is sent to do a job.
Doesn't tell me anything.
No, it doesn't. However, your friend will not be harmed, but she is coming with us. You can take it up with the major.
The major told me she stays here.
He was wrong.
Unless you tell me who you are, it's not going to go as easy as you planned.
Mr. Keats,
You can cut the mister. With all due respect, fuck off.
fuck off. My name is Alexander. Now you know who I am. I am an Archon sent from the Ivory Tower, and so is my friend here. We have a job to do. I suggest you stand aside. You may take up your complaint with the major.
Where are you taking her?
Someplace safe. You will see her again.
I will step aside.
She puts a hand on your shoulder and stands up behind you. She looks the two of them over very carefully. She whispers in your ear, I'll see you again.
You definitely will.
They're telling the truth. Safe. Anywhere's better than here. We needed to get out of here. Now you get out of here.
I'll kiss her on the cheek and immediately walk past them and go towards the major.
You walk out. You notice that the main room of the warehouse is strangely quiet. That the beehive of activity seems to have left your general vicinity. There's no bodies. There's no sign of any kind of struggle or anything like that. You walk past and go looking for the major. Back to the major and Tim. Your conversation continues.
So yes, there is a place in this organization for you, Mr. Toon. There is duty, service, but also honor, dignity. It is within your grasp. And such things are rare for your average kindred, because so often they give in to the depredations of their beasts. You are being called to serve in a higher station. Will you answer that call?
Yes. Yes, I will.
Fantastic. That is wonderful news. Once all of this unpleasantness is behind us, you will accompany me and we will speak with my superiors and see if you can be placed either with me or with one of my fellows.
Very well.
You've made the right decision, Mr. Toon. I believe that you will find a great deal of fulfillment, as I have.
The door
It's been
opens
lacking.
rather abruptly as Jonathan Keats storms down the stairs, joining you both in the makeshift room.
So are you
Can I
planning to tell me, or are you just going to fucking lie to me like everybody else?
tell you what, dear boy?
Well, that Ada would no longer be here, that she would be taken by two fucking archons.
If you would step outside and close the door, please.
Just tell me, did you know?
Step outside and close the door, please. You have 3 seconds to step outside and close the door.
Eats think if it was an Archon that came to get her, do you think they would have bothered to tell him beforehand?
They said take it up with you.
Step outside and close the fucking door.
I'll turn around and I'll slam that bitch.
Spears, this is the Major.
There is no response from Sergeant Spears.
Mr. Toon, with me, please.
Roger that.
I will, not even registering Mr. Keats, I will exit the room and move up to find out what the fuck is going on.
The two of you come out almost immediately behind Jonathan. Could almost run into him if he weren't already jacked up and watching out. You go upstairs, you notice there is a large missing hum of activity. The buzz of many people doing many things is not there, at least not within the eyesight of the main warehouse. Yes.
I would like to roll wits and awareness. I'm looking for bodies, like any things out of place,
By
etc.
all means.
Smell of blood.
Yeah. 2 successes.
And which of your fine senses would you like to heighten, sir?
Who, me?
Yeah. Are you concentrating on a particular thing, or sight or sound or smell, or?
Yeah, basically, I'm looking around to see if I see any obvious bodies laying around or smell blood in the air. What's
most obvious is the lack of them.
Yeah.
Like, there doesn't seem to be the scent of coppery blood in the air. It's just inside this warehouse, it has gone quiet and vacant.
This doesn't bode well.
Indeed. I would like to make a similar investigation or awareness.
Sure.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes.
Okay.
If they're alive, they're making noise. There's something going on.
You're not hearing anything out of the ordinary. Well, you're not hearing anything in this warehouse other than the warehouse itself.
I'll go outside.
The hum of xenon bulbs, that kind of thing, is what you hear. Jonathan,
I'm following the major.
You see the two of them come out. They start looking around pretty heavy. And they start walking towards the entrance. Do you stop them, talk to them?
If he does, I'm not even paying attention. I want to know where the fuck my men are.
Okay. So you get near the front entrance to the warehouse that everybody's been using as a controlled entry point. When you look outside, there are neatly laid rows of people, shoulder to shoulder, on the ground, and they seem to be sleeping. Among them, you see pretty much the people you expected to see inside the warehouse, including Sergeant Spears laying amongst the many.
Who doesn't belong?
I know each one of my men. Is there anybody out of place?
There is not a person out of place. Everybody that you expect to see, you see. The people
Mr.
that
Toon,
you don't...
if you could please see if they are alive.
Very well. Is there anyone extra?
No.
Okay. I'm going to go see if... I'm going to go check them all for, breathing, heartbeat, etc.
Sure. You check the first couple, 3 randomly. All have pulses, slow respiration, very even in and out breaths. They literally appear to be sleeping.
Looks like they're all asleep.
Anyone on this net respond?
You get a couple of the patrols answer that are outside of the yard and fenced property of PAL Contracting. They report in like they're doing their patrol.
Well, at least they were polite enough to leave your men.
I'm going to go down to the command center and check security tapes.
Again, you see Tim and the major come back into the warehouse.
After waking up Sergeant Spears and telling him to rouse the men.
You rouse him. He seems confused.
Sergeant Spears, on your feet. Get the men mustered. Get them back to their duties immediately.
He looks around quickly and looks doubly confused, like what the hell's going on?
On the double, Mr. Spears.
He goes to starting to wake people up. You see Tim and the major come back into the warehouse and head towards the offices, again, paying you little to no mind, Jonathan.
Ooh, okay, we're good.
So the two of you get to the offices. One of the offices is a kind of a makeshift room with a bunch of terminals and camera controls and things like that have been hastily set up. What you do see is a limo does pull up, goes through your security, and you see 2 people in white suits slowly leading people out into the warehouse or outside of the warehouse and laying them down one next to each other. A few minutes goes by.
Can I make a wits politics to see if I identify these people?
Sure.
Piece of candy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes
Okay, you see
with a critical.
as you're looking over these security footages, you see a few minutes later they come out laying Sergeant Spears down among the rest of the men. They disappear.
No, I want to know who the two guys in white suits are.
Yes.
Okay.
You see them a couple minutes later again coming out into the main warehouse. This time, each has an arm interlocked with Ada's arms, and they're marching her out of the warehouse. As he approaches the camera that was placed on the entry, you catch just enough of a side, almost a profile close enough to a camera to identify, maybe not by name, but by face, someone that you've seen in the company of Lucinda before.
I mean, I would recognize them as Archons. Yes or no?
I would think yes. Just being who you saw them, the circumstances you saw them in, they weren't necessarily identified, but they were given the wide berth.
They work for my boss.
Right.
Got it. Sergeant Spears.
Yes, sir.
In my office, please.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Toon, if you will give me a moment. Sergeant Spears, the
Yes,
next
Major.
time I ask a question, I want a response to that question, not what you did. The next time
Of course,
there is
Major.
something to this effect, I will handle it personally. The next time, because all of this could have been avoided, Mr. Spears, had I been the one to meet them, not you.
Me, who, sir?
Yes, precisely. You know how my powers work, and they were used on you, weren't they?
Did you do something to me, sir? In the men?
No, I did not. Look at the videotapes, Mr. Spears.
And he turns his attention and watches what you replay for him.
You know how this works.
Of course, Major.
Stop questioning my orders. Start executing them.
Of course, Major.
You're excused, Mr. Spears.
He snaps a quick salute, does a 180, and hauls ass out of the office.
Mr. Spears, send Mr. Toon, Mr. Keats in, please.
At once, Major. Tim, you go hiking out. And where are you going?
I went into the hall.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I knew he had a private conversation with the sergeant to have, so.
The sergeant comes rushing out of the room, seems very militaristic, intent, stepping quickly. The major's ready for you, sir. And he makes a beeline for Jonathan. Likewise, Jonathan. The sergeant comes up to you. The major would like to see you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, let's go.
He directs you over to the office where you saw them come in, but it's not like he knows that.
After you, Mr. Keats.
I will immediately go in.
I'll follow behind him and close the door behind me.
And they return.
Have a seat, gentlemen. It does indeed appear that we have been visited by two of Justicar Lucinda's men, Archons in their own right.
Archon Alexander.
Yes. And they have taken Miss Ada into their custody. If that will be all, Mr. Toon and I have much to discuss about a certain Primogen.
I just want to know if you knew about it.
Whether or not I knew about it is immaterial, Mr. Keats.
No, because that was your word to me.
My word was that she would be safe, and she is. She is safer now than she ever was fraternizing with you.
Maybe tonight it won't just be an Archon I tell to fuck off.
Are you intending to tell me to fuck off?
Well, now that you said it, I don't have to. Then I'll turn around and walk out.
Mr. Toon.
I'm gonna grab him and sit him down.
Oh, finally.
So you contest it all. Tim comes grabbing after you. Bringing you back down. I don't know. Throwing you into a chair, pushing you into a chair, pulling it out for you like a gentleman.
I'm being
like you're-
nice.
He's asking.
I'm
if
being
you're
nice.
contesting, he's asking if you're contesting this at all.
No.
I am ever your reluctant jailer, Mr. Keats.
Mr. Keats, the amount of, well, let's be generous here and call it mercy that you have been shown is profound. You have survived for quite a long time, exercising caution, surviving, and yet this individual has caused you to lose all sense of preservation of self in the face of oblivion. If you cannot control your baser urges, you are of no use to me. Can you control your baser urges?
Not as much as anybody else can.
Major leans back. As much as anybody else can. An interesting choice of words. There are many anybody else's in this world, Mr. Keats.
Mr. White being one of them.
Are you saying you are on par with those lesser creatures? Or are you elevated, exalted? Are you more than mere instinct, urge? Or are you nothing but a squishy meat sack housing vitae, fit for nothing more than the trash heap?
Tim's gonna lean over and whisper, "B's the wrong answer."
You're right. I have survived a long time. But I am living now.
You're living now.
Yeah, like you.
The major will,
I also have a purpose.
The major will stand up and walk over to him, place his hand over his heart. And yet no heart beats in your chest, Mr. Keats.
Semantics.
Semantics. Really? Are you or are you not kindred?
Well, apparently not, or not enough, according to everybody's opinion that matters.
I gave you the chance to be. Because how one acts, how one comports themselves, is just as indicative of their station as is their heritage. I have seen peasants perform acts of nobility that would shame the greatest king. And I have seen kings act in such craven manner as to shame their forebears. You see, Mr. Keats, I wanted to give each and every one of you the chance to exalt yourselves. You have seen fit to throw my offered hand back in my face and spit in it. You act with neither dignity nor aplomb. And so I find myself at odds as to why it is I'm keeping you around.
Well, I act as I'm treated.
And since your little display when Mr. Toon had to remand you, how have I mistreated you, Mr. Keats? I have treated you just as I would any other kindred with a seat at my table. Have I not, Mr. Toon?
Tim, your beast
far as I can
scratches at
tell.
the back of your head. Watch how this fucker cat toys with a mouse. Watch how he paws and bats at it. You know that fucking
just
blue
wanted-
blood is just playing fucking games.
A simple answer to a question, and it didn't matter, and it wasn't worth your time.
Mr. Keats, you have been alive for decades more than me, and yet you do not grasp the simple concept that there are no simple answers, especially in this unlife. What happened, happened.
And I just wanted to know if you knew anything about it.
Regardless, it doesn't matter. My superiors took her, and she is safer now than she was in your company. I have kept my word insofar as I've been able to.
And
And I told you if it be within my power. She is now out of your reach as well as mine, and that should suffice.
and behind closed doors, I let you know how I felt about it.
Behind closed doors. Behind
Your
closed doors.
your station, your ego is intact, as it were.
Do you
to your
think I
men.
act out of it? Do you think I act out of ego, Mr. Keats?
I think we all do.
No. I act out of a sense of duty, Mr. Keats. A standard was shown to me, and I have endeavored to show you said same standard. You have one of three choices. Serve honorably, with discipline and respect. Die. Final death, here and now. Or leave and be washed away in the flood.
Until I'm reunited with her, then I told you I would do anything you asked.
And I am asking you, as a gentleman, to serve with discipline and respect. Because you see, if you act this way, others will see it, and perhaps not see you as the filthy duskborn who merely is a thief of vitae that belongs rightfully to them. I do not believe you are thus, Mr. Keats. I believe that somewhere inside of you is the soul of an illuminated being, one who may very well someday do something of great import. You have the time. As you said, before you were surviving, now you are living. Well, if you wish to keep on living, Mr. Keats, those are your options before you.
You know, he's quite a researcher. I had a pretty good look at his, well, you'd call it a flat. But yeah, he's got some interesting literature tastes. Not without merit.
I seek to illuminate the merit that is inherent within him, not merely the condition of his wit.
Horse to water.
You have roads before you, Mr. Keats. Make your options, make your choices. One of them leads back to Ada and to a future. The other two are annihilation.
And that's the only road for me.
Then if you'll excuse us, Mr. Keats. Sergeant Spears is currently getting us back up to functioning, and I have some phone calls to make.
I said, I believe that words are cheap. I will leave a container of blood.
And what is this?
That is Miss Fiona, and I walk away.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we're going to pause this scene. We'd like to thank you all for joining and viewing with us for this vignette. We can't wait to see where all of this goes. I want to thank my players. You guys are awesome and amazing, and I love each and every one of you. I feel very fortunate to have you at my table, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. Viewing audience, we love you all very much, and we will see you all soon. Thanks for coming. We'll talk to you again.